Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 41. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Stotara Sata Shri Srimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gora Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 41. Tasmat tvam indriyani ado niyamya bharatarshava Pavmanam prajahiyenam jnana vijnana nashanam Tasmatvam indriyani ado nyamya bharatarshava Pavmanam prajahiyenam jnana vijnana nashanam Tasmatvam indriyani ado nyamya bharatarshava Papmanam prajahiyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Tasmad, therefore, tvam, you, indriyani, the senses, ado, in the beginning, niyamya, by regulating, bharatar shaba, O chief among the descendants of Bharat, papmanam, the great symbol of sin, prajahi, curb, he, certainly, enam, this, jnana, knowledge, vijnana, scientific knowledge of the pure soul, nashanam, destroyer. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Purport. The Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization and specifically knowledge of the self. Jnanam refers to knowledge of self as distinguished from non-self, or in other words, knowledge that the spirit soul is not the body. Vijnanam refers to specific knowledge of the spirit soul and knowledge of one's constitutional position and his relationship with the Supreme Soul. It is explained thus in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Jnanam paramaguyam me yad vijnana samanvitam saharshayam tad angam cha grihana gaditam maya. The knowledge of the self and the Supreme Self is very confidential. And mysterious, being veiled by Maya. But such knowledge and specific realization can be understood if it is explained by the Lord Himself. Bhagavad Gita gives us that knowledge, specifically knowledge of the self. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and therefore they are simply meant to serve the Lord. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So, from the very beginning of life, one has to learn this Krishna consciousness, and thereby one may become fully Krishna conscious and act accordingly. Lust is only the perverted reflection of the love of Godhead, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, that natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return it to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So, from any stage of life, or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Tasmat tvam indriyani ado, nyanya bharatar shaba, papa maha prajahiyanam jnana vijnana nashanam. So, the whole situation is how to understand what is the difference between lust, kama, and prema, love. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that lust is like iron and prema is like gold. Iron deteriorates. Iron is not considered very valuable, whereas gold never deteriorates. It remains bright and shiny. So, one may ask if love of Godhead is the culmination of life, is a combination of any activity, how can we tell the difference? In the material world, what we call love is just a reflection of the real love from the spiritual world. It is a reflection which is not real, and it is covered by lust. I love somebody as long as that person satisfies my desire of love, my idea of what I want. And when that person no longer satisfies my idea of what I want, then the relationship is finished. Therefore there is divorce. Therefore there is abandonment. The closest that we can see within the material world of real love is the love of the mother for the child. And not in all cases, but in most cases, the mother loves the child unconditionally. There is no reason. The child doesn't have to do anything specific. Simply because he was born from the womb of the mother will love him. That not only in human society, but also in animal society. We see that when an animal like a cow is separated from a newborn baby, newborn calf, she will cry all night long. And even wild animals like tigers and lions, the mother, she is affectionate to her cub. She will work very hard to take care of her progeny. So this is the closest that we can get in the material world to what is pure love. The problem, even with this pure love, which is a reflection of the real love, the reason it's a reflection is it does not last. You may have some pure love for someone, but it will come to an end. Either that person will change, thereby you will not find the conditions to continue your service and your love, or ultimately old age and death will completely eliminate our relationship. Whereas a relationship with God, it is eternal. It doesn't stop. When a devotee learns to love Krishna, then he steps into something which is called reality, the real thing. Love with Krishna as a condition of eternity. It doesn't break. It has a condition of always increasing. It has a condition of transcendental happiness, great enjoyment. It is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. It is eternal. It doesn't stop at any time. Chit, it is full of knowledge because it's the real thing, and it is full of bliss. And when we are taught about this love of God in relationship with Krishna, the teaching can gradually transform our ignorance from identifying with the body to identify with Krishna. Why should I love some material object or some material person which is temporary, ignorant, and not always satisfying, when I can love something which is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge? This is the beginning of knowledge. It's called Jnanam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Idam tu te guyatamam pravakshami anasuyave. My dear Arjuna, because you are anasuya, because you are not envious of me, because you are willing to listen. Envious of Krishna means you don't want to hear about Krishna. You look around the world today, 99.999% of human beings are not interested in God. What to speak of interested in Krishna? But Arjuna was interested in hearing. So he was anasuyave, free from envy. He didn't think Krishna was his competitor. He understood that Krishna is something important to tell me, so let me listen. He was attracted to Krishna. And jnanam vijnanam sahitam yajnatva moksha sheshubat. Because you're not envious of me, because you're willing to hear, then I will give you some knowledge, jnanam. I will give you wisdom, vijnanam, yajnatva, knowing which moksha sheshubat. You become free from being identifying with this ashubha, with this shubha means forget the word, but ashubhat means a place which is not very convenient, conducive to good results. Shubha means something which is auspicious, and ashubhat means inauspicious. So Nyatva Moksha She Asubhat, knowing which you will become free from this inauspicious attachment to the material world. The material world is inauspicious because it is not our world. It is temporary and it is full of ignorance. We are born with nothing. No one brings anything when he takes birth. And when we die, we cannot take anything with us. Yet while we are here, we use so many facilities given by the material energy, by the material nature. And because we don't recognize that it doesn't belong to us, that there is another owner, we become thieves. I challenge anyone, any politician, any teacher, anyone who identifies with the body, anyone who thinks that this world is mine, this land is worshipable, my wife is mine, my family is mine, anyone who doesn't take advantage of Vedic knowledge to understand his relationship with God is a thief. And who wants to associate with a thief? When one becomes enlightened, he wants to leave this material world because he doesn't want to hang around with thieves. Just like when you're in a prison. If you become enlightened in prison, if you become genuinely sorry for your crime and have paid the price of your crime, you want to get out. You don't want to associate with criminals any longer. Believe me, I've been in prison. In prison, all the prisoners do all day long is simply plan how to break the law when they come out. In fact, in the prison, they make all kinds of connections with other criminals so that they can continue their criminal activities. This is the nature of the material world. It is a place of criminals. And it is a place of criminals because the people living in a material world do not recognize the property of God. Just like the government, he makes the laws, and the citizens who follow the laws do not have to worry about prison life. But those who don't follow the law and become criminals, they are in prison. They are segregated. They are kept away from regular society so that their activity doesn't create a disturbance. So one might say, well, we have a religion in our society. We are Christians, we are Hindus, we are Muslims, we are Jews, we are Buddhists. But actually, it is just a belief. Nobody really follows. The purpose of sense enjoyment, the purpose of satisfying our body, kamasya na indriya pritir, is not to. The purpose of life is not to satisfy the senses through lust. Labho jiveta yavata. At any time, jivasya tattva gignyasa narto yaschaya karma bihi. There is no other work except tattva gignyasa, inquiring as to who is the owner of the material energy, who is the controller of the material energy, and what is my relationship with him. When you come to this point, then you can actually understand things as they are. But we have seen, for example, in India, the most important book of religion is the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, there are the Vedas that contain Many, many volumes of knowledge. Originally, it came by hearing from guru to disciple, from disciple to disciple, like this, called the Guru Parampara. And the Bhagavad Gita explains exactly what is our relationship with the material world, what is our relationship with spiritual world, who we are connected with in the spiritual platform, and how to practice activities according to these principles. The Bhagavad Gita, or the Bible, or the Quran, they are like the tax laws of God. Just like in a government, the tax department, they publish the rules for taxes, the tax books. So the tax lawyer, he has to learn the tax books. And just like in the material world, a rich businessman is obliged to pay taxes to the government. However, deep inside, the businessman doesn't want to pay any taxes. Therefore, he hires a tax lawyer. And he says to the tax lawyer, "My dear lawyer, here is the tax book. Now you study this book and teach me how to act in such a way that I pay little tax as possible." In the same way, the so-called sadhus and priests and mullahs, they take the holy books and the congregation expect them to be taught or to interpret the holy books in such a way that they pay little or no taxes to the government of God. This is the material world. So, Krishna is saying, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. I'm teaching you this Raja Vidya, this king of knowledge. Raja Guyam, the most confidential knowledge. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. It is also there in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If we want to know what is the king of knowledge, there is no shortage. The only shortage is the desire to hear. Therefore, it is the duty of parents, teachers, priests to train their charges from the earliest age. This was also explained by Prahlad Maharaj, who was just a little boy, but he was highly enlightened in spiritual life. And he said, Komara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavatam iha. That Bhagavad Dharma, or our eternal relationship with God, should be taught from the youngest age. Why? Durlava manusha jamma. Because to get a human body, it is very difficult. Tadapi adruvam arthadam. And the human body is the only body that can give you arthadam. And adruvam, it gives you auspiciousness, and it teaches you to perform spiritual work. So from the early age, it is our duty to train people. It is the duty of the government, the duty of the parent, the duty of the spiritual master. In fact, there is a verse that says that you don't become a mother, don't become a father, don't become a guru, don't become a spiritual leader, don't become a leader of the government unless you have knowledge and are able to deliver your charges from the cycle of birth and death. And to go back to the lust and to prema, why is it that the same feeling that we express in the material world, and we call it love, but it's actually lust, why is it that the same feelings, when they are transferred to Krishna, are no longer lust? It becomes love. That is because when we put our feelings of service, our feelings of love, when we want to please someone in the material world, it is an illusion. But when we want to please the Supreme Lord, it is the reality. When we want to please something material, it has to do with the body and the senses. Therefore, we require a body and a sense, and if we come to the moment of death where we are engaged in satisfying our senses in relationship with somebody else's senses, we will take another material body. Whereas, if we come to the moment of death, remembering our spirituality and our eternal connection with Krishna, when we understand that Krishna's birth His activities are transcendental, and believe me, when you become a devotee of Krishna, it doesn't matter what Krishna does. You love him anyhow. Whether he embraces you, Ashlishyava, Padaratam Pinakstumam, whether he steps on you with his feet, Adarshanam Marmahatam, whether he makes me broken-hearted because I can never actually see him face to face, it doesn't matter. Mat prananatas tu saheva napara. You are my prananath. That is love. You can do that with Krishna. You cannot do it with any material situation. And then the question arises, then you can understand how it is that the gopis love Krishna so much. How it is that the highest understanding of spirituality is the loving exchange between Krishna and his girlfriends. The very thing which is the most abominable in the material world, where young girls go and meet a young boy in the middle of the night against the advice, against the instructions of their parents, even of their husbands, of their family. When they give up everything and go to Krishna, this is the highest perfection of life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the latest teacher in a long line, latest avatar or incarnation of Krishna, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Naya Anya. Krishna Chaitanya is none other than Radha and Krishna. And he taught that the highest possible expression of love of God is that which the gopis demonstrated in relationship with Krishna. So when Sukadeva Goswami was explaining the intricacy of lust and love, Maharaj Parikshit asked him some questions. And one of the questions was that Parikshit used was that this dancing in the middle of the night between Krishna and the gopis, externally it is jugupsitam. Jugupsitam means it is about why Krishna did this. And he went on by saying, I can understand that Krishna is God, therefore by definition he is aptakama, he is not lusty. In fact, Krishna says, Shamoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshu asina priya. I am equal to everyone. No one is my enemy, no one is my friend. Krishna is no lust. He does not require to satisfy his senses in relationship with the living entities. So he's called aptakama. And when Krishna danced with the gopis, actually he was 8 years old. He lifted Govardhan Hill when he was 7 years old. And the next year, on the full moon of the autumn Sarat season, he enacted the Rasa dance. He was 8 years old. And the gopis were similarly young girls. There was no question of lust. There is no lust in an 8-year-old child. So, that is one angle, very important angle to look upon Krishna's activities. Then he is Yadupati. Yadupati means that Krishna was born in the family of the Yadus, who were considered to be the greatest and most pious and religious kings in India at that time. Even now, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is great glorification of the Yadu dynasty, in which so many great saints. So Krishna could not have broken that tradition by becoming lusty. And the person who was explaining the Rasa dance, Sukadeva Goswami, to Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami is known as Suvrata. Su means auspicious and Vrata means commitment. Suvrata means that Sukadeva Goswami was a brahmachari from his youngest age. He was realized even within the womb of his mother. He never associated with women. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, women could not come near him. He was so strict. So this is Suvrata. So why would Sukadeva Goswami explain the activities of Radha and Krishna if there was any lust involved? No, there is no lust involved. And ultimately, Krishna is known as Ishvaranam, or the Supreme Controller. Ishvaranam means that he is so powerful that he can break any rule of so-called social intercourse, because he is a supreme controller. Krishna not only was able to dance with the gopis, many Mayavadis that do that even in India, that dance, they collect gopis and dance, and here in the West, people dance with each other, they ignore God, they act as if God doesn't exist, they think they're God. But when you ask them, pick up the Govardhan hill, that they cannot do. Imitating the rasa dance, that they can do. But picking up the Govardhan hill and holding it aloft for 7 days, that is not possible. Therefore they say this is mythology. But in such mythology, some of the greatest thinkers and philosophers known to this planet have accepted this as transcendental activities. So this is the brief explanation of my understanding of what is lust and what is love. This love of God is already there in our heart. Therefore we look to love someone, whether it's a woman or a man or even an animal. But when we repose that love in relationship with Krishna, then it becomes perfect. Thank you very much. So we have our friend Vrishniv Mandy Pryor, Hare Krishna, and Atmavidya Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Good evening to all. Thank you for participating. If you have any more comments, please feel free to post, and we'll see you next week on Wednesday. Haribol.